Hey YouTube, 123 Man Banana here, and I decided to make a review of my Lego M4A3E8 Sherman tank. Now this tank right here is a modified version of the Easy 8, as they call this type of Sherman, but they're pretty similar in aspects. The original Sherman, the original M4 Sherman, the M4A3E8 Sherman looked like this right here. And they're pretty similar, as you can see, but the only difference is that it put armored skirts on it, to make it have more protection, and it has a little bit more armor and sloping on my Lego version than in the original version. But anyway, so my modified version of the Sherman Easy 8, I mean, it's pretty good. I've looked at other people that made theirs on YouTube, and I decided why not make my own. And at the time I didn't have enough parts to make it, so it wasn't until a while ago when my neighbor was gonna give up his Legos that I decided I was gonna ask if I can have them. So I asked him, and he said he would let me, so I took them, and he had a whole bunch of new parts. So I decided to make a Sherman, an M4A3E8 Sherman. Anyway, so the main armament of the Easy 8 is a M1A2 76mm gun, and these E8s were used to support infantry and also used to kill attack German tanks like Tigers, Panthers, Panzer IVs, Stug 3s, and the secondary armaments of the E8 were a coaxial 30mm machine gun, which is right here, a top barrel-mounted 30mm 30 caliber machine gun right here, and a 50 caliber machine gun on top of the turret right here. Now the E8s had a top speed of around 50 miles an hour, which was pretty fast for a Sherman, for a tank at the time, but and it could outrun most German tanks. It was pretty maneuverable than the original Sherman. It had much better armor, so it could take on German tanks head to head. But it still had some difficulty due to the fact it didn't have as much armor as a German tank. So German tanks could have an inch or like maybe 3 inches of armor. The Shermans probably only had an inch. Have about maybe half an inch to an inch of armor on them, so there's still difficulties. But the Easy 8s had water, had their shells instead of being in the back or the side of the turrets where it was very vulnerable. They put them in water casings which would be located at the bottom of the turret, so the shells would be in a container of water. So if the tank was hit, the shells wouldn't start to catch on fire. They'd be protected by the water. And also the Shermans had better modified turrets to handle the new 76mm gun. And the funny thing was the Easy 8 was created after the U.S. Army realized that their M4 Shermans armed with the short-barreled 75mm guns, which is right here, which most Shermans had when the invasion of Normandy happened, was not good enough against German armor. So they decided to put a longer barreled 76 on their tanks, but that was only after the National War Board Committee decided on this, and they were the biggest, how can you say, the biggest roadblock in the way, because they still believed in the tank destroyer doctrine, which I could discuss that on a different day. But they were pretty much they were believing that tank destroyers like the M10, like I have right here, were supposed to engage and destroy German armored units, while the Sherman was supposed to support infantry. Well, that didn't really work out, so that's why they started putting the bigger guns on the Sherman. But anyways, I didn't really have any tracks, so I had to put wheels on my tanks at the moment. So until I get more tracks, I might be able to redesign these tanks to have them. But for now, I just have them having wheels, and you know, the armored skirts, as you can see, kind of cover up most of them, cover up most of the wheels, so you don't have to see it. But anyways, the Sherman Easy, the Sherman Easy 8 went into production in March 1945, and it ended around late 1946 and served as the U.S.'s main tank until the end of the Korean War, when it was replaced by the M46 Patton tank as the main, the M46 Patton tank, and the M60. So they were pretty tough. They were pretty tough tanks. They not only took on German tanks during World War II, they also took on Soviet T-34s and T-34-85s during the Korean War, and they had a pretty good advantage due to their coated optics and their HEAP rounds, or their high explosive armor piercing rounds, which the Russians didn't have. So yeah, they were pretty good tanks, and they served throughout our allies throughout the 20th century. The Israelis used the M4A3E8s up till the 80s, and they had modified them to carry 105 long-barreled guns. So they were, and it was actually the Israelis that showed that the Sherman could be even an old Sherman could be updated to fight against modern tanks. The Super Sherman, as we call it now, which mounted a 105mm gun, which the Israelis used during the Yupon-Kipon War of 1973, was going up against T-72s and like T-55s and T-62s, and they was just knocking them out. So, you know, it just shows how well American tanks are and how well you can modify them to fight against other enemies long into the future. Anyways, so I hope you enjoyed my review of my modified M4A3E8 Sherman, and I'll hope to make another video later. So I'll see you guys later.